All right, family. Shout out to everybody waiting. We are now live. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 9:04 p.m., and I am with the Chief. I want to take this time to welcome back to the platform none other than Rod Hayes.
What's going on, brother Rich? Hey, you know they love when I come on your show, man. People be telling me, man, you be like Rich be like he talking to his own uncle.
Yeah, it's a good energy. It's a good energy. It's genuine, and we just bounce off each other. So I know it's a good experience for the people to see our conversations today. It's gonna be an interesting one tonight. I mean, when you get involved with consciousness, Rod, you can hear about all types of crazy, weird shit, and you like, nah, that can't be real, or no, that can't be real. And wow, when you get deeper and deeper to it, you like, hold up, that shit really is real. So today's one of them conversations where I know a lot of people say to themselves, wait, is this symbolic or is this literal when we talk about ant people and these people that live underground? So from what I read and what I read, there's a group, the advanced civilization underground, and according to the Hopi legend, Rod, in times of cataclysm, before the earth was destroyed, they say the ant people took some good folks from the surface, like where we at, or on that live on the earth, and they took them underground and taught them the sciences, astronomy, all types of stuff. In fact, I think the word ant in Hopi means Anu or something. And I know you've been talking a lot about the Anunnaki the last couple of years, so we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm saying if they saying Rod, in times of the Great Reset, the ant people reemerge. Are they gonna come back out? And I know I just threw like three questions in there, but it's we're gonna have a good build. We're gonna have a good build. We're gonna talk about these ant people. Matter of fact, you know what, Rod? Let me pull some.
Roll the coin, roll the coin.
Let me let me put this on the screen real quick. Hold up, y'all.
While you doing that, Rich, I'm gonna say this. We live in the three-dimensional reality. But what we don't realize is three-dimensional reality is the realm of infinite possibility.
Mm.
It's also the realm of infinite probabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you can think of already been thought of, and anything that we discussed millions of times over by people in different times, places, and realities.
Wow.
If you have infinite potential, every potential is a focal point to draw you down to manifest that potential.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we looking at the stratas of history, those are erased hard drives of yesterday so we can reload the hard drive of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But the strata's still there.
Mm-hmm.
The trace is still there. The underlying energy signature of all past civilizations are still here. If you travel certain parts of the places, if it's like your life is like unlocking a combination lock. If you make certain travels in a certain motion around the land, your genetic memory turn on at exponentially. And you start remembering stuff like, wait a minute, last time I was here in St. Louis, you ain't never been to St. Louis in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get there, right, you like, man, last time I was in St. Louis, it was that wasn't there. And then you start being like, wait a minute, I ain't never been to St. Louis. Why am I dissecting St. Louis?
Yeah.
Right? But then you start saying, wait a minute, but it's too familiar for me not to have been here.
Right.
And I couldn't have got it from a movie because it got emotional context and content involved in it. That's from you've been there before so many times, and you just questioning why you remember what you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we've been taught we only got one life and it's over with. That's ridiculous. We're eternal beings.
Yeah.
Occupying a finite space with infinite potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At what time do we express what potential? Right? When you understand that, then you realize that, wait a minute, this is all part of the game. And the game has been upgraded so many times that it had to be downgraded to the lowest possible potential in order to be able to upgrade it again. All things are probable, meaning all things are possible. In the realm of infinite potential, they already didn't happen. So if somebody can formulate the question for it, it's another timeline that already answered it.
Timeline. Is it another timeline that already answered it, or
yes?
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, the answer to the problem, most of the time, it's in the problem itself. It's the same thing. That means that if you want to solve the problem, you got to ask the question. But the only way you could ask the question is if you can identify the problem. Right? You can't ask a question about a problem you can't identify because you don't know it's there. So as soon as you can identify it, now you just have to keep examining the question. Why is this way? Or whatever the question may be. Eventually, it's going to be like, wait a minute. The answer has been in here. The solution to this problem has been within the problem the whole time. It's like math. 7. What's the problem, though? It could be 2 plus 5. It could be 3 plus 4. It could be 6 plus 1. Right? But whatever it is, it's inside of that 7. It's the answer to the problem.
Right.
You can't go to 9 to get the answer to get the question for the answer to number 7. Because everywhere you look, you're going to find the answer to number 9. Because that's the only thing that's in there. So you got the answer and the solution is always within the problem. And this is what they was using. It's called hitting your blind side. You ever see them horses in downtown? You got these blinders on like this.
Yeah.
Some of them eyes completely covered. And then some of them is very adjustment. You know what that is?
What?
So they are programming the horse to disregard what he see with his own eyes and only follow what you feel coming through this lead. They brainwashing the horse to think he's blind and that he got a dependable human that'll lead him around. That's what they do to us.
Right, yeah.
That's the miseducation system. They teach our children to arrest their spiritual development at 5 years old. It don't take to the first grade, though. That's why we start being 6-year-old adults over time. Because they're dumbing you down using what's called an attrition model. So when we talk about ant people, we talk about Anunnaki. If we read it as an energy, we'll get way more information from it if we reject it or accept it as a reality. We get more information from it. Because most good lies have a piece of the truth in it. Right? That's what make the best lies. That's where the story of the well-dressed lie comes from. One day the lie came past, caught the truth taking a bath. Behind the truth's back, the lie dressed up in the truth's clothes. Right? And then the lie sprint past trying to escape the truth. And now you got a well-dressed lie being chased by the naked truth.
Let me read this real quick, Rob.
Let's go.
Let me read. I should have got oh, give me 1 second, family. Why is it doing this? Okay, here we go. All right. This is just a quick none long, family. It says the Hopi ant people are beings described in the traditional cosmology and oral histories of the Hopi tribe, not literal insects, but mythic helpers who played a role in humanity's survival during earlier world ages. Now, this is why I asked you, because this is ChatGPT. They're saying mythic. Some people saying they were real people. So I guess it depends on who you ask, but let me keep reading. In Hopi stories, the ant people, often called Anu Sinom, are intelligent, industrious beings associated with the. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot chat. Damn. Uh, when you on Chat GPT, family, you got to type in like tell them no mainstream info or something related to that. Otherwise, you're gonna get academia. See, now look, this is what's crazy. I typed in no non-mainstream. It says non-symbolic, literal non-human beings, and non-mainstream oral retelling, often excluded from published Hopi material. The ant people are described as tall, thin, non-human entities, large dark eyes, gray or earth-colored skin, dwelling permanently underground. These descriptions closely match what modern culture calls grays, but the Hopi stories predate modern UFO narratives. According to alternative readings, a prior world ended due to planetary catastrophe, pole shift, solar event, or ice age. Humans were physically taken underground in the vast tunnel systems, and people engineered subterranean habitats. Food was grown or synthesized underground. Humans lived there for generations before re-emerging. This aligns with global flood, reset myths, sudden population bottlenecks in human genetics, and legends of underground cities worldwide. Ant people are Earth-based, not extraterrestrial. A key non-mainstream idea is that they were not aliens from space, but an ancient non-human Earth civilization. I'm gonna end it right there. What you think about what I just read, Rod? Talk to me, man.
Okay, first of all, remember you first ran up on the one and it was mythology?
Yeah, the mainstream, academic one. Yeah,
right. There's a theology, right? Ours is mythology, my theology, right? Their theology is the theology of theoretics. It's a theoretical. So they taking what was ours, reprinting it, and they don't really understand it. So it becomes theory study, ology means study of. So they studying the theory of something. Mythology is, I noticed, it's mine. My theology, my theory of study is to study itself. So they mix it up in the words, and then they turn around and use it to confuse you, putting the blinders on you, right? Now, when we get to the ant people, we remember infinite realm of possibility. There's cycles on top of cycles on top of cycles. The history has to be rewritten for each cycle. So when you look back on it, that's already been done. You coming into another cycle, we might go into a cycle and have a whole new set of animals that we have never even fathomed in our mind. Where did they come from? They're going to spring forth and generate from our mind over time because it has to change. Well, the ancients discovered that these cycles cause catastrophes at the end. And if you figure out how to have a smooth transition, you can avert catastrophe. And sometimes that include one cycle may end and they create Shambhala or Agartha. Because it's the same story when you study the story of Shambhala and Agartha. Agartha, they tell you that the people from Agartha came up during the close of many ages and did the same thing that the so-called ant people did. The term ant came from the idea of the ant people because they said that we act like ants and swarm around our big mama like termites and pester us like bees. So they use those terms to describe what's known as our hive mind or pack mentality, right? The ant people in the legend, we call them Anasazi, is another name for them. When you look up Anansi, it's both over in what's called the motherland and it's over here as the spider. When you look at their symbolism, it's the spider. But the spider and the ant looks very similar. The Anasazi was one of the root tribes of the Americas. We call them today Old Mississippians. becoming so informed about the cycles that the newly developing people on the land has to be protected from their own ignorance. So you have something like, hey, let's go teach these people how to build structures in the side of the mountain, so when the catastrophe come, the earth will protect them. So you go teach it to them. And then you have what's called what's like a Pueblo village. If you go to studying around Colorado, around Pueblo, you'll see they got this place, this village carved in the side of the mountains. The people say they was taught that technology of design from the ant people, right? All of this stuff is tied together through the weavers of the history, which is the mothers. We used to call them the dark mothers at one time. This is where you get your term Black Madonna reference from. Because she was the dark mother. She had to be a dark mother because she had to have so much stuff in her genetic code. And she becomes the queen of the hive of the ants, the old ancient people. We still here. We got different totem animals. The ant people, totem animal is the ant. And you got different people from different tribes. You got priests whose totem animal is the praying mantis, right? Then you have people whose totem animal is the kraken. They start resembling these things as they spiritually evolve because the collective part of the hive mind that they come from is tied through that totem to the frequency of the earth. We all manifesting earth spirits. So we had to go through stages of moving the mind in order for you to see it as a human. And this is why we can communicate with animals if we can tune into our inner self. Mm-hmm. Because we are of the hive, the top of the hive mind. The lower the species, you know, they all got their place on the hive mind. Like you got the insect section. This is where they learn to compartmentalize mammal, reptile, amphibian, what we call the parts of species. All amphibians is not reptilian, right? You got reptilian amphibians, and then you got mammalian amphibian. Amphibian mean they just live, they can go in or out of the water. That's all it means. Terrestrial mean they primarily traverse the land. That's all it means. Aquatic mean they primarily live in the confines of water. That's all it means. So when you put the field of amphibian up, humans fit under that umbrella. But some humans fit under terrestrial. This is where you get your airbender, firebender, waterbenders from. Earthbenders. Learning to control the element that's primarily conducive to who you are. This is why they become part of the zodiac chart. They have put your, because certain times of the year control the element by which a person's energy manifests. You know? So you see Leo, like my father, loud, talk loud, don't care what you think because they the king. Fuck what you talk about, fuck who you telling mentality. And then you have like another fire sign like Aries. Like, I hear you talking, Leo, but that shit don't move me. Even though the Aries, the lamb, in nature is a prey animal for a Leo. But on the spirit realm, they equals. Fire and fire. Right? So now they have to find the balance between the two, and then they give you the parable of the lamb and the sheep. And it's telling you about the closing of the age, the closing of the days, what to look for. Right? So he's telling you to look for the day where the lamb can lay down with the lion and not be consumed. That's when the Aries can placate the Leo. Right? But then you got to wait for the water bearer. All this is in their text that they wrote. It's all ties together to the multiple underground civilizations of the world. And the ones referred to as ant people is the ones that's probably the deepest in the earth now. Because instead of when they flee danger, they don't move up to the stars, they move down to the center. Right. So it's a different culture, it's a different philosophy and understanding.
What's the connection between the ant people and the Grand Canyon? Because I hear people say that that's one of the places they went when there was a catastrophe. They went underground. They went to the Grand Canyon. You ever heard a connection between them?
Well, you were I was just telling you about the Pueblo villages carved in the mountains, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, in the Grand Canyon, a lot of the relics were stored in caverns using a similar architectural format, right? Then they built them in different layers at different sides. So where the water would have been level at in the ground at one point, it ain't level there no more. So they built it looked like it's just up on the side of the rock, right. But it's been there, right? The Grand Canyon, it's like a whole lot of different stuff was going on. So one is Malachi say in the Holy Tablets, he tell you about a meteor that struck where the Grand Canyon is, right? But it wasn't a meteor. It was a missile.
From who?
It was from one of the Anunnaki wars, like 3-4 wars ago. That was one of the first places they attacked, and that was the catalyst to the fall of Atlantis. Right? It's the conflict. There was nuclear holocaust several times. So this is why they knew that in order to keep the people in the perpetual state of fear when they started to wake up, keep warning them about nuclear holocaust. And then give them a demonstration on a smaller scale. That stuff that they shot off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, them was grenades compared to when the earth was bigger, what was being shot off. It was like throwing a grenade over a hill. That wasn't even a big bomb.
Damn. Wow.
One bomb from Arizona scorched the whole Rockies.
Damn.
Right? And you had one bomb in the right offside the Mediterranean, turn the whole Middle East and North Africa into desert. One bomb turned in Acadia, where today is Iran, turned all of that into the Middle Eastern desert. And one bomb in India turned half of India and what we call Pakistan today in the desert. Those were done at different times. They ain't all the same age.
Different ages.
Right? Now, we got to remember, you had pyramid wars that's recorded by the Egyptians.
Right.
Right? You had Anunnaki wars that's recorded by the Sumerians. You got Vimanis wars that's recorded by the Hindus. Right? And then you got the tale of dragons fighting in the air in almost every culture because that was another name for the ships.
It's a lot of wars, right?
It's been a lot. The first thing that happened was when the first war was over, it had triggered our presence to other species like the Andromeda beings who had they got search teams out, space investigators or water investigators or whatever you want to call them, but they travel in vessels. And our attention was brought to them by the Anunnaki's first war. It's what made them come down here and trying to hunt the people because of the first war. This is where you get your story of the predator. Right? If you go to the second predator, they got him in South Central fighting Danny Glover. But then when you go to the next one, they got him on a crashed ship fighting with Sanaya Latham right? You remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that's because they discovered later when they got here that Earth was a matriarchal planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Earth mother and the Andromeda mother was able to have a conference and create an agreement. This is when they created the dinosaur.
I heard you
So
say
we
that.
go through certain amount of cycles with the dinosaurs, right? And this is the time they saying that the ant people was on the surface of the earth.
Rod, real quick, why did they want to create the Andromedan woman and the Earth woman? Why did they want to create dinosaurs?
They didn't want to create the dinosaurs. They was hunters. The soldiers like the Predator beast,
Yeah.
right, from the movie Predator.
Mm-hmm.
They literally have to train their warriors to always be on top. They a matriarchal civilization, but they males ain't no joke.
Right.
So they had to feed their bloodlust by allowing them to go and test their skills. And this is where you get a lot of our rites of passage comes from this. Mm-hmm. So when they made the peace treaty, part of it was for Enki to breed dinosaurs. And he was breed the dinosaurs so that the Andromeda beings had a training ground for their warriors, and it was for a couple million years. Or 100 million Earth years.
Right. Yeah, man. It's I know for people hearing this information for the first time from you, they're like, "Whoa, what is he talking about?" Let me ask you something that I just looking up, researching things. Somebody mentioned the possibility of Akhenaten being one of these ant people because of his
elongated skull. Because you gotta remember, even though they call them ant people, they were still people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When all you gotta do is look at Tupac head and you'll see what they was. It's like drawing caricatures of people.
Mm.
A lot of those ill-formed pharaohs is not talking about how they actually look, because most of them, how they actually look is the shape of the sarcophagus. Whereas in like Tut case, they have a lot of drawings that emphasize what we in the hood call old hookhead ass boy. Right? So they want to exaggerate that. So in the future, when we coming out of the slumber from going through the Yuga cycle, we'll be able to recognize each other by a trait that's been exaggerated in the petroglyphs. So when Tutankhamun was from over here, that's who Tupac was.
Yeah, the Boy King. I heard you say that, the Boy King. Huh?
Yeah, it's a prototype.
Mm.
It's a prototype. Just like when we say Crazy Horse, right? They only think that we talk about one person. We're not talking about one person. Crazy Horse is a way for a tribal chief to get information to another tribal chief by making everybody else think he's batshit crazy. Flavor Flav came out Crazy Horse. ODB came out Crazy Horse.
Right.
It's a couple up out right now. They're using the Crazy Horse signature energy in order to tell the truth, while everybody else is writing them off as being crazy or they weird or look at you like they did Triple X. He's flipping tribal code.
Mm-hmm.
All of them in the hip hop world is exercising a tribal culture. They made fun of it in the Underdog cartoons, where only the big chief understood what the little scout was saying when he was he's supposed to be rapping.
Mm-hmm.
And the chief's supposed to be reading the rap and then tell him we'll move this way then. It's in the culture.
Right.
So we have our spokespeople that can't say it outright. They use the crazy horse energy to get it out.
Mhm.
Right. Then you have the dragon energy. They just flat out tell you the best they can from what they see. The dragon energy is this fearlessness to speak, that Malcolm X tongue.
Mhm.
That was dragon tongue. Right? Then you got the Hayoka energy. The highest Hayoka priest on the land right now is Smokey Robinson. And he can put the Hayoka energy to use in poetry and tell stories. This is why that song Tears of the Clown was so important as an identifier for who he was. It's a lot in the music because we couldn't, under the George Washington Challenge, we had to educate ourselves about the condition. But nobody couldn't tell us why we had, that we had to educate ourselves above our condition directly.
Right.
They had to inspire us to do it on our own.
Right.
Most inspiration comes from arts and entertainment. And the only thing more inspiring than that is the love itself.
Mm.
Most artists are drawing so heavily from the heart chakra, they putting the love energy in their art.
Mm. Mm.
And if you've ever been in love before, you can read that energy. And that's not the same as before.
Mm.
And so you be able to read and translate for other people to see tribally what's going on. But Tut was a real energy. He was a Tupac Amaru energy, the boy king. It's the child that's taking the responsibility to take lead of the family. They got a lot of them they call boy chiefs in history that they try to downplay them. They call them the little chiefs and make fun of their stature because they 8, 9 years old, but they smarter than everybody in the room.
Mm. Mm.
Right? We didn't arrest our children's development. We inspired it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they trying to stifle it.
And Rod, speaking of the comparison of Tupac and Tutankhamun, I want to get your opinion on this. This is pretty funny. This is interesting. Real quick. So Harvard scientists, using modern technology, researchers at Harvard have constructed what Mansa Musa, history's richest man, so they say, may have looked like in 3D. So they use all this advanced technology, and the 3D image they came up with was Kanye West. Yo, Rod, the 3D image they came up with for the richest man that ever existed look exactly like Yeezy. If we talking about reincarnation, this is some interesting shit, Rod. What you think about that, man?
It's the frequency. The original people of the earth are the living spirits of the earth.
That would explain why he act like that. But go ahead.
Yeah, he actually uses several different tribal energies to communicate. In his music, he used a lot of the Hayoka energy. But in his interviews, he used a lot of crazy horse energy.
Right.
Yeah. He would be tribally speaking, Kanye is a true master because he can flip different chief lingos, different chief styles into getting his message across. He pushed his whole, remember his first album, the name of his first album?
Damn, it wasn't graduate, college dropout, yes.
Right. Now, why is he telling you you're a college dropout? He's not getting what he needs in the educational system.
Mm-hmm.
What he needs is going to take me through the fire while I'm spitting through the wire, while my jaw wired up. He's telling the whole story just by the name of the album and what he dropped on the album. That's a whole story by itself. Mm-hmm. The fact that we've been intermarrying with people from Africa since time immemorial, especially on the Eastern Seaboard, this wouldn't surprise me at all if he was the reincarnation of Mansa Musa. Because a lot of the West Coast tribes or tradition, they tell you they come from over here. How did they get over there is because they was marrying the kings of the land.
Mm-hmm.
The highest ranked chief was the Zulu chief. And he had the option to draw from women from wherever he wanted them to by contacting another competent and functional chief. They still do the ceremony in South Africa, and they bring the pubescent girls for him to pick who he wants.
Mm-hmm.
The last great king down there, Goodwill Zwelithini, passed away a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was the highest Zulu chief. And now they go back to reestablishing, who's going to be qualified to lead to his level next. They in the middle of that now. That might take them 5 or 10 years following their tradition to actually put their faith in one chief. Right? The Shaka Zulu story, it gives you a loose idea, understanding how they chiefdom work. Those are Inky kids. Their job was supposed to be to protect the Khoisan from the Watusi, the ant people on the land. That's what they look like, Watusi.
Rod, you going the ant people are the Watusi over there?
They look like that.
They look like that. Okay.
So we would say the phenotype.
Right.
The Maasai Mara, the ones who rites of passage used to be for the young boy to go kill a lion and bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that their intelligence levels is next level. We so ignorant in America that we don't understand how intelligent other people from other cultures are. Because we so used to dealing with each other over here with this arrested development 6th grade mentality. That's why people get so in their feelings when you try to make them do adult things. They feel some type of way. They feel persecuted if you try to have them do what an adult's supposed to do when they're supposed to be an adult. But if you can come up with something that a child's supposed to be doing, they have no problem doing it because they arrested development. Yeah. That's why Carter G wrote Miseducation of the Negro. Because you don't understand what you're looking at. If somebody else is looking at it before you haven't explained it, you have to try to figure out how to explain it. But if somebody before you already explained it, when you see it, that's arrested development right there. Right? Which was one of the names of one of the best hip hop groups of the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the culture is telling you the same story as the intellectuals. We're not telling it in the same lingo. Right? Because we got to talk over the head of them people talking legalese because they talking over our head.
Right.
We got to get behind enemy lines and tell each other what these people doing because we don't know what they doing. So once we put it out there, now when another one of us come along in the future and we put it all together, I'm like, wait a minute, ain't what they telling us. Right? This is why when you follow the travels of Noble Drew Ali and where he first started in Newark, New Jersey, and you understand how he ended up resettling to Detroit. And then when you realize who it is trying to kill him, right? Because they had papers out back then where they was talking mad greasy about Noble Drew Ali. Right? Trying to convince the ones that wasn't from their little circle to not like Noble Drew Ali, who was one of the people from the land. So now he got to figure out how to tell one of the chiefs 2-3 generations in the future what he see right now. Right. So then he put his house together. He built his life around the problem. So when you study his house, you can't miss the problem. They look like us, but they ain't us. Right. Then you got to pass the baton. Somebody else got to run with it. It's a flea flicker. One person ain't supposed to hold the ball.
Right.
Especially when they own him. Right? It's a flea flicker. It's a razzle dazzle play. A whole bunch of chiefs making a whole bunch of moves to confuse the offense or
Mhm,
the defense, depending on what side you on,
mhm,
right? If you flipping for the ball, right, you have to know how to pass information in the enemy face. That's why they hired Hopi cold crackers in the
mhm.
military.
Yo, Rod, these ant people that have these underground civilizations, are they connected to? I've heard people say that there's beings that live under now I'm about to say Stone Mountain. What's that Mount Shasta? Are these the
Mhm.
same beings that live under Mount Shasta when we talk about the ant people?
No, the ant people look just like Watusis or Masai Mara.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they look like phenotypically. They are an earlier species prototype.
Mm-hmm.
When the genetics upgrade at the close of a cycle, it corrects all of the defects from the past genetic pool,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when they get upgraded, this is why it looked like it's different species of humans because the genome is steady upgrade. It's being programmed in the conversation of Schumann resonance and solar radiation that's going to mold the DNA to produce this outcome at the end of it, right? The human learned how to artificially um, make changes to what nature did natural by understanding how the DNA set up. So when you talk about the people like the people in Mount Shasta, you don't get to see a lot of them, and a lot of them look pale faced because they've been adopting pale faced children, raising them down there. So pale face walk up to you and say, "Yeah, I'm from Mount Shasta. I've been living under the earth for 120 years." And you looking at him and he's looking like he's 30, and you laughing because you think he's making it up.
Mm-hmm.
He's been trained by those down there, and they know how to tend to the genome in diet and day to day activity. So they get a different reaction. And but the ant people are not necessarily the lead people you see in Mount Shasta because you don't see too many that look like Watusis.
I know what I heard and what I seen somebody in the chat just say is that's the remnants of ancient Lemuria. Is
Yeah,
that right? That's true.
yeah. It's a book called Sleeping Gods Waking Up about the people of Lemuria and what they call it the forgotten gods. They the ones that get all of the bad press from the occult community because they want you to keep away from the potentials that they offer. So they turn them into what we call demons of Goetia and stuff like that. But those are actual activation codes for the blood in order to turn on your primeval um, galactic self. And if you turn that on, you can't be oppressed on Earth. It's not possible. You're going to figure out a way around it, following the path of least resistance through all things, because you can't stay oppressed. It's like water has to rise to its level. The guys can't stay oppressed.
Right. Any connection between the ant people and Orion? That Orion constellation. I was looking up stuff on that also. There's a connection, they say.
Yeah, because the Orianos, the people that came from Orion to Earth, these are the people that set up what we call the Golden Ones later. But when they first came, they had to interact with the people we call ant people, would look like Watusis. So I keep saying that because I want the people to understand in their mind what these people phenotypically look like. Like if you was to walk past one today, the only way you would know he one of the ant people, you would say to yourself, he looked like Manute Bol. That's what they look like. Those were ant people, but they live under the ground. And then they got a shorter version of them, but they still look like Manute Bol.
Yeah, I was Seeing if I could pull up the Watusi people real quick. I'll pull that up a little bit. But when you said Manute Bol, I'm sure if anybody was alive during the early 90s and watched basketball, you know what Rod is talking about. Rod, when we talk about these cataclysms that happen, and we hear about the ice and the water, is this the next cycle, or when this cycle ends, does this one end in fire since the last one ended in water, Rod?
This is the first one in about 4 or 5 closing of the ages that we went out of the infinity loop. You remember when we crossed to Maherta and I was explaining how we was using that frequency to get out of the infinity loop?
Yeah.
Right. Because this was one of the wars, and they had like a collider like the Swiss Hadron Collider, right? And it was pretty much in the same location, but it was, they opened a portal gate using the collider, and then they dumped all of the world's nuclear waste, I guess, bombs to blow between third and fourth dimension. That's why we need sleep, because they collapsed the fourth dimension into the third dimension in order to project an interlocking reality where they can take control of the source codes. Because as long as they kept us in the infinity loop, we couldn't get out of it because we kept missing the Maherta. This is the first time we caught the Maherta and the people understood what it was to the level where it can work.
I remember you was telling me some wild shit. You was like, so many people tried to make it be incarnated down here during the Maherta because it was that important.
And they kept missing it.
They kept missing it.
Yeah, it's the first time somebody caught it, and the information level was sufficient to break through it. Because it's not just one reason why it wasn't happening. It was always because of the infinity loop's nature. It was always out of timing. Just like when you ever see your uncle and them when they had that little light flashing real fast, trying to set the timing on the old cars.
Mm-hmm.
That's a timing light. Well, one of the things why we kept missing it is because we was always mistiming the events. Because the Maherta had to open at the close of the age and the opening of a new age. And not only that, somebody had to be perceptive enough to recognize the nature of the upside down. Not only that, enough people have to understand the message when they get out about being in the upside down that they can flip right side up in the Maherta, right on time. If the minds it's going to be a signal come from the center of the universe through the Maherta. They got to get a perfect alignment in order for a source code to get to the earth, the sun, back through the Maherta within a couple of seconds, because it's traveling at the speed of photon light. Like it's almost like instantaneous. It's quantum entanglement communication. But when you have those so many galaxies in the way or universes in the way, the fields between them alter the rate by which it can align. And then so Prime Creator had to create a source opening where every civilized sentient galaxy can hit their own Maherta in order to get codes from the center. So it's all of that was going on at the same time. That's a lot of shit.
It's a lot of shit. You sounded how you kicking it now sound like some of the stuff I read in the that Yahweh book that I got. I'm pull something up a little later. It actually pull something up a little later. But yo, I think you told me you was like even Christ was trying to make the Maherta or something.
Yeah, that was ISIS.
ISIS, yeah.
Yeah, that was all of the great mothers are always trying to get in alignment with source. This is the source of your religions or any spiritual practice. It's all a matriarchal mother science of trying to stay in line with the universal balance, right? That's what that alignment is. So every grand matriarch in every cycle in is looking for that alignment so she can be in line with the source. Because once she's in, because the communication is between the grand matriarch of the humans on the planet, who communicates directly with the earth, which is the matriarch that governs the immune system, and we just so happen to be the immune system. So, and also the programmers of the defense system, which is your genome writers. This was all being done by women for eons before men ever stepped foot in the arena. The original gods, the Typhonian gods, are all were feminine. And then later they produced the first masculine, but that was in response to being encountered by the masculine principle leaking from somewhere else. Well, we call it the Anunnaki invasion. But it's really just adding the masculine principle to the genome and to the strata of Earth's memory. You have to create what's called a compelling event to resonate far enough into the future. Why do we remember Osiris' name and nobody can't tell you who Henry Hubert Harrison was? They can't tell you one thing they seen Osiris do. And the story is about a 8,000-year-old story, according to modern historians. It's about an 8,000-year-old story. And we still remember Osiris, Set, Ra, Isis in this era before we became common knowledge, before Egyptian information started to hit the mainstream. Our people always knew and understood who Osiris was, even if they didn't say it. Because we never stopped using it. So some kind of way the name Osiris is so locked in our psyches that we use it. We name children Osiris, never having heard anybody talk about nothing Egyptian. It's the ancient history in the DNA being re-expressed in the present time. All this stuff is part of who we are. That's why you can't trick the ancient ones. We did it so many times. We already know what's going on. How fast do it take you to size up a room? Do you know you in hostile territory or not?
Right. I want to, shit. Let me see. I want to read a little bit of this and ask Rod. Once again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Oh, something I wanted to touch on real quick. Somebody in the chat said, I was wondering this too, because I know Billy Carson did a video about Turkey, the country Turkey. And they want to know, are the ant people the same as the ones who lived in the underground cities of Turkey?
No, those are different. Those were a different phenotype.
Okay.
But remember, the Turks are the Ottomans. I remember that.
All right. I'm gonna get to this a little later. I'm gonna get to that a little later. But so wow. I mean, yeah, this whole ant thing. So Rod, the Hopi that we see today, are they the same? Are these the same people who?
No.
So all right. So explain that, please.
Most of the Hopi, if they don't look like more like you, Rich, even more like you than me, they not original Hopi. The original Hopi was like your facial structure, but their skin color was much darker. And they were the offshoot of the Olmec people.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. So the Hopi that we hear about in all these prophecies were offshoot of the Olmec people.
Right, all of the tribes. When we say Olmec, I'm still talking about old Mississippian original bloodlines. When we say Aztec, Inca, Maya, I'm still talking about original bloodlines of the old Mississippians.
Right.
Right. Now, in the North, Mississippi is the bloodline of the land, and all people, whether they was in east or west, came from this stock. All of your original tribes came from what's called the Mississippian root stock of Americans. And in South America, it's the Amazonian root stock.
Right.
Then they calling the women Amazonians. They talking about the Califia queens, but they using the Amazon so that you won't equate them with the Mississippi. But you had the Amazon North and the Amazon South when they first started referring to the two major rivers of the land. Right? The tribes called it the Mississippi. They wanted to call it the Amazon. They wanted to Latinize it. Remember that we was fighting Spain before the French in the Louisiana territory. So they took a lot of our stuff and turned it around and used it against us. Exploit our ignorance, and we can't put the stories back together.
So the people we see today, where are they from?
In
the people we see today that say they're descendants of the Hopi, they don't look like us. They look like
right. They are descendants of immigrants. Well, tribes over here was bringing immigrants in, and you could go to Mexico. They have what's called the Chinese Road. We was doing trade with China. In the Hopi culture, they created the ceremonial tribe that you see today to just be somebody that honors the culture into the future. Right? So these ceremonial, this is why they all got that Asian look. Aside from the ones that the Moors brought over here with them as servants and warriors, soldiers, what they was calling soldiers of fortune. But anyway, the ones that's here now are older than the invasion of Europe. Right, but they don't go back into the antiquity as Hopi. They got a limit. They only been here like 1,300 years as Hopi. But the original Hopi was a shoot off of the old Mississippian tribes. You never heard me say that we got a contract with the Asians, and that's why we all carry the name Lee in the South.
Yes, you have said that before. Yeah,
this is part of that. There's more to it. And to like be able to explain it, you have to know a certain amount of already exhumed history. You have to have seen what I'm talking about on the map for it to make sense to you. But a lot of these tribes that we want to beat up on, some of them, they didn't take sides with the colonizers. And so they was entrusted with parts of the culture for us to restudy them at the end. That's what your boarding schools was for, to teach them the culture so that they could carry it into the future. But see, they don't have enough sense to know who they is because we ain't know who we was. Because they erased all our real names. About 90% of the tribal names that we refer to ourselves now are all exonyms. They took them. That's why you had to self-identify. Because if you're going to use your rights, you have to identify yourself and fuck what somebody else say.
Rod, I'm wondering, like you're so tapped into this information. I'm wondering why you don't get like visits, or why these, you talked about so much on this channel. You don't get like visits or telepathic communication from these beings that you know so much about, being that you're already partially on their resonance field because you know the history of them and you know they exist. You don't get contacted by, beings, right?
I'm not to be fucked with. They don't like me.
Not in a bad way. I'm just saying, like,
no. The good ones don't like me either.
Well, yeah.
My history is defender of the earth.
That's your history.
That's why I'm here.
Defender of the earth.
And just because they good beings don't mean they was always coming with good intentions to the earth. Right? people need stuff from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody got to be like, enough is enough. What if another planet came and say, hey, can we get a little bit of y'all water? We say, yeah, and they take it all. And we die of thirst. Because nobody knew when to draw the line, when to say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why you have to conjure certain people up in order to see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when I'm telling them certain stuff, I have to be able to show what I'm talking about. And that's why I had to read so many books so I can have references so it don't look like I'm just pulling it out, out my toes.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see, I can show you, I ain't the only one know this information.
Mm-hmm.
This person know it, this person knows. I see all of these people and you start reading their stuff and then you realize all the stuff I had to read. You be like, God damn. Because I got to tell you who telling us the story. No, if I come out and tell us how our old tribal ways are, and I can't tell you how we got here, you won't never understand me enough for us to be effective. But if I know the old tribal ways, and then I can follow the tribal patterns around the stories that we were traditionally told, right? And then I can say, wait a minute, this ain't our story. So what was this person that's telling the story want me to believe about us if this ain't our story? Now he's putting in opinions. Today you would call it cracking propaganda as a skill. Because most of the historical records is cliff notes to bullshit. Right? Like you don't even remember your whole life. And now you got to keep track of history. Right? So when you're going through, I found some books today. I was like, man, why I ain't never heard of this book before? All this stuff I read, I never heard this book. I never heard of this author. Right? And I'm just thinking, and the book was written in 1970. One of them. So I'm thinking like, I never heard of this book. And it's a hot commodity that's hard to get that costs like $1,000.
Shit.
I'm like, when I see stuff like that, it just allows me to recall that because of you shift timelines, stuff come into the view.
Right.
That identifies the shift in the timeline from where you were to where you going. And little stuff like what we're discussing now, some people going to start remembering stuff about their own life or even past lives just because we discussed enough to connect the dots for them in places they had blanks. Right? So imagine having the outline of a picture, but you don't got no details yet. Right? Along comes the artist and sees the detail that goes in the middle of the lines. And so they detail it for you. Vivid view now. Black and white becomes color.
I want to read something. I want to read something real quick. So this is this is from this book I show occasionally. This Yahweh book. Rod had me get it. We was talking about Yahweh on the phone one day, and Rod was telling me about this book, The Keys of Enoch. What did it say? The Book of Knowledge. And it says Yahweh in the front. Let me read this to you, Rod. Let me ask for a Rod Hayes breakdown. I need a Rod Hayes breakdown. The key to future luminaries and the key to the divine light is the vehicle of time translation. The vehicle of vehicles is Merkaba, which creates, controls, and has the ability to speak through electromagnetic sinks. Merkaba revolves and goes and rises under the heaven or brightness of the next universe, and its course goes over the earth with the light of its rays incessantly into myriads of universes within the ever unfolding eternity. Sounds so beautiful the way he wrote that, right?
Poetry to it.
Yeah,
Poetry to the science.
yeah, very poetic. How does the vehicle speak to us? Through light consciousness forms by means of polarized energy, namely by energizing the cosmic pulsations to pierce the Earth's electromagnetic field. The message it brings speaks of the great infinite way and our role in the many heavens of creation. Thus, in its flight through the many heavens, Merkaba, the light energy vehicle, through rotational circumversion, creates the overlap between various universes of time and space, thereby creating threshold configurations. Consequently, by creating threshold configurations with its power, Merkaba allows one level of intelligence to directly connect with a series of other intelligences. We need a Rod Hayes breakdown. Can you help us understand what the hell that just said, Rod Hayes? Please.
Okay, so when he's talking about the Merkaba, he's talking about the light body that is your auric field. The space around you to a certain degree is your energy field. This is your Merkaba. But he's talking about it in the sense of metaphysics, where your Merkaba can do things your physical body can't do. And to be absorbed into your mind state, into the Merkaba, you can communicate with other streams of information. That's why when you look up Merkaba, sometimes it show a man in the middle of the Merkaba double stack pyramid, and then they'll show a refraction of light coming out, breaking the light up from the prism, right? But it's the other way around. We on the inside of the prism, and the light is breaking up within us. Instead of coming together, we have to unify the inner light in order to align with the outer light. Right? So we're looking at two particular points in space between a quantum field of darkness. Right? So how long can you hold the vision of the light before you fade into the darkness? Right? So imagine having a flashlight and you walking through a dark tunnel. You can follow the light in front of you, but you still can't see nothing behind you because you've already burned that down. It don't exist no more. But when you turn around and put the light on it, you just brought the past back to life. Right? So that's the analogy of being in that tunnel.
Hey, Rod, what can you tell me? We mentioned the Grand Canyon a little earlier. We talk about different areas. What can you tell me, Rod, since we're talking about the ant people, about we're talking about the Hopi, so we're talking about the Hopi, Sedona, Arizona. Now, white folks, they talk about Sedona like it is the most spiritual place on the face of the earth. You always hear them talk about Sedona. You always see them got events out there. Shout out to all the white folks and everybody who do the events in Sedona. I heard it be popping out there, never been out there. But what can you tell us about Sedona, Arizona?
Sedona was it's an ancient ritual site from Atlantis era. In the energies of the ley line and the crystals that naturally form there makes it a place where you can see into it thins the veil of reality, and then it gives you certain frequencies to activate your higher energy fields, which is in 3D is euphoric. It's the bliss state. It's easier to attain it in Sedona than it is in a lot of places because of the long-term use of the ancients that dwelled there. It's already got the channel open. You just got to get in the wavelength in order to reap the benefits of somebody thousands of years ago did already.
Are we supposed to, Rod? Because I just asked you about the Hopi, and you were telling me how the ones we see today aren't the Hopi that came up with this prophecy. Let's just say, yourself, myself, others of like consciousness in this country, Are we supposed to go to different areas of the world and activate certain grids or certain ley lines or certain places? Like what would happen if Rod Hayes was in Sedona? Then Rod Hayes hit up Mount Shasta. Then Rod Hayes hit up Mexico. Then you know what I'm saying? Like, what would that like? Is that part of our purpose, Rod? You think?
It depends on where you at in the process. Because it's a time where, like, my travels had to be in this lifetime had to be primarily east of the Mississippi River,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of my bloodline birthright territory. I already understood where what we call Amaru land, which was Tupac territory, which stretched from Alaska going into South America on the Pacific coast. And then I had to know anything that come across them Appalachians, I had to address that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when it comes in for, like now at the close of the age, if I follow the tribal redemption process and put everything in the public domain, and I gotta identify a certain amount of chiefs to the people, and you can tell they are like some of this stuff. Most of this stuff is done right now. We just trying to open the eyes of the last few remaining that's waking up and letting them land on their feet. Because a lot of us landed, like I landed on my neck. Somebody else might have landed on their ass, somebody on their knees. We wanted these next ones, this next final wave, to at least be able to have the opportunity to land on their feet.
Right, right.
Babies got it now, they in trouble.
Yo, Rod. So since we're in such an important time right now, the Great Reset, a lot of people call it, and we got things like, you know, the Harvard scientists, researchers are talking about. They coming up with images of Kanye West and say this is how Mansa Musa look. Is it possible when we think of all the greats, these worldly rulers, let's say Alexander the Great, you mentioned Shaka Zulu, Mansa Musa, all of these Akhenaten, is it possible all of them are back on Earth right now in another body? Because all of them, like, it's like the All-Star, you know, like the All-Star game in the NBA, all the greats, Jordan, Magic, Bird, everybody plays at the same time. Is everybody playing at the same time right now, Rod? All the greats that ever existed.
Most of them, because some of them was the same person more than once, but most of them are all here. But which energy field did they come in their original form, or did they create a new form altogether? But for the most part, the greatest spirits, souls that walk the earth, like Joan of Arc, she got as this one chick. She got an Ascension show on YouTube, right? That's she was Joan of Arc in France back then. And when I seen her, I started laughing because they told us that they put Joan of Arc to death, and I distinctly remember what they did with her. They switched her out and gave her a ranch to live on with her consort happily ever after. And then they told the public that she died. If it wasn't for the Templars, I wouldn't have remembered.
I want to give me. We're gonna take a couple of questions from the chat. Give me some questions in the chat for my brother Rod. Hey, shout out to everybody. We got a lot of people in the chat. Shout out to all of y'all. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thank you for everybody who sent the a super chat. Appreciate it. Rod, what's your Cash App? Because I know people I no need to ask. I know it. I know you done told me 1,000 times. Let me see. It's still Sick Ape, right? I don't want to.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Just want to share Rod Hayes Cash App with the family real quick. Make sure y'all support my brother for this magnificent research that he does. We're gonna get to this one question right here. I just see it on the screen. I'm sure you touched on this before. Are the maps wrong?
Yes, they are actually upside down to begin with, and then they're Eurocentric. I mean that they were designed from the perspective of Europe being the center of the world, not just the center of the universe, not just the center of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
And it's to disorient you too.
They want to know what y'all think about IShowSpeed. Speed. Man, he's on a generational run right now on a tour in Africa, which gives it a different perception on it. You know who that is? The young brother who got the he's a streamer. He got the show.
It sounds familiar, but a lot of them I'm not up on. This was one of the more. I think he just popped up.
Yeah. But to the person asking that
Oh
question.
yeah, because he was on wrestling. He got speared.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Everywhere, man.
Look he having the time of his life. When you see somebody like that and he get that kind of public support, in past lives, he always was treated that way.
No
matter what kind of civilization we was in, his presence made people want to treat him that way. Right. And so when he's born, his energy is already pre-programmed to make people respond to him that way.
I want to get to a question from King Simon. He says, who are the six-fingered people of the Americas because they mention them in the Bible?
My granddaddy now. The Will Hayes bloodline. They was old Mississippian stock. They averaged between 6'5" and 7'5". But most of them is burly. Yeah. Mississippians too.
I know a lot of Jamaicans who got the six fingers, who said they are
same people. When you see the six fingers, especially they normally have it on the right hand because it can only come in through the fatherland, so it can only effectively grow on the right side. If they got it on both sides, the motherland and the fatherland, then they might have 6 whole fingers. But if they're only coming in on one side, it'll only express the finger from that one side.
Right.
Most of the time, it's from the fatherland because they have a higher incident of Y chromosomes in reproduction than regular guys because of the dominance. The X chromosome, being it determines the sex of the male, tend to accept theirs faster because it's a stronger genetic stock. So they produce more males for warrior duties.
All right, let's get to this next one. Should the Queen Mother seat reside in New Orleans since that was the capital before Philly?
It's going to be up to the matriarchs to determine when they receive the keys to the community back where they want to put the new capital. We do know that because of the transfer of the birthright from Red House to Blue House, it got to move now back across the Mississippi. So it got to be on the new capital, had to be inland west of the Mississippi. They got a whole lot of places in that area to draw from to determine where to put their capital. I ain't finna try to guess for them because they gonna be a group of women and they're gonna be going off how they feel. And I can't predict that.
All right. Somebody said, is Imhotep here? If so, what would his purpose be this time?
He taught me how to read tarot card. He lived in Michigan. And he's actually got a Facebook page. Look up John Ramey. But that was my tarot card teacher. And he was here this time to teach and to participate in music.
All right, next question. Is it true that the people on the Titanic were the 13 black noble families that opposed the Federal Reserve System and owned the original land patents?
Um, they was not all from different families. There was more from one or two of those families, but they were the obstacle to the Federal Reserve. And that would now, so let's put this in tribal terms and take it out of the Eurocentric eyes of how we've been taught to look at it. Over here, we had what was called Big Mama's banks, which was all of the Big Mamas would just write the other Big Mama and they would keep in touch through trade. And so all of the Big Mamas was the bank for the families. You might have 25 families out of one Big Mama house. You might have 150 families out of one Big Mama house. Big Mama, everybody come to her house by first name basis. Now, we ain't say members, individuals, we said families. Because we used to, that's how we distributed food to our community, to our people. We farmed our own food. This is why Mississippian culture is so important to the land, because we was the ones feeding everybody in the Mississippi territory, was growing all of the food for the tribes. And then the colonizers wanted to shut us down so that they could grow cotton and increase our tobacco and cotton output. We was already growing enough for that, for our needs to be met for those products. But they wanted to convert all of the firms into producing a product, which changed how we was able to get our traditional food stuff to the people, right? So the city people would send people to the Big Mama house and they'd load up at the barn with they'd butcher a cow and all that with the uncles out there and load it up and take it on home as needed so that we didn't need mass slaughterhouses. Now, in order to keep base demand, they can't kill enough cows without making them go extinct.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they start using wild animal meat and other stuff in the food. But the need to grow food like that was a family responsibility. The government and corporate America did not control how we fed our people. And this is why Elijah Muhammad Farrakhan was so big on black farms. Never knowing most of the farms in the country is paid not to farm. That's in order for them to be able to regulate the increased value in food. Right. Supply and demand. If they're getting too much supply, right, they might be paid. Some people have been getting paid over 100 years on their family farm, not to farm, and they got to keep the equipment current. Yeah. And then they get kickbacks to keep their equipment current because they're getting paid not to farm. Just think about that. Now, when they get tired of their equipment and that they can't use the farm because they're getting paid not to farm, but they got to keep their equipment functional, then they can sell their functional equipment to a farmer that's not getting paid to farm. I mean, to not farm, but to actually farm at a discount. Mm-hmm. And then they can get all new stuff because they're getting paid by the government not to farm. See how it works? That's the undergirding of the peasantry with the infrastructure that Martin Luther King was talking about. Controlling the flow of the food, the people at your mercy. Yeah. We don't want to be at their mercy, but the structure of society is slowly strangling us and making us more at the mercy of government and business. And that's why can't nobody survive without trying to get to the bag. They're exploiting your survival instinct.
Yo, Rod, I noticed. I was telling the people last year that there's going to be a big farming movement this year, and I'm introduced to people. I know this Black Farmer Rod. Yo, I ate. This nigga had some mustard greens. It tastes like you eating electricity. Like if you eat it, like it's like you almost shocked. You almost get shocked. But the food is amazing. I haven't tasted greens. I'm talking about you ain't got to put nothing fresh out the farm. You eat it. Never tasted none like it in my whole life. I'm brother name is Eugene. I'm gonna introduce him to the family probably in March. Probably February. We're gonna do a video soon, but I'm gonna do something with his farm in March. But that farming is very important, Rod. Very, very, very important. I was talking to Blue Pill the other day because Blue Pill getting into the farming, the indoor farming. Most of the money we spend in our life is on food. I'm tired of spending. It's just food, Rod. It's just constantly.
Well, remember, a lot of people don't know this, but we didn't start eating 3 meals a day until the 70s.
Great point. Great point. Yes.
The average family could only afford at most breakfast and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because they was getting it out the yard, though. Most people back then, in the before 1950, they introduced us to something called middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And what the fuck is that?
Mm.
That's the ones that's somewhere between the city slicker and the country boy, where they got to live in a certain environment where they can't farm no food, and then they can go work in a factory and buy the food.
Mm.
Right. So this is why, before that, people had farms in their yard in the city. In old New York, they used to have all kind of balcony gardens all through New York when it was just before the colonizers took control and started strangling us out, piling us on top of each other. But the women in our communities used to always keep little window gardens and neighborhood gardens going. That was how we kept ourselves alive. It was a survival mechanism. That's why we had so many fruit trees. Everybody knew to plant a fruit tree in the yard. Now, ain't nobody got no fruit trees. Why they let them cut all the fruit trees down? Control the outlet of the fruit. Kill the female trees and then make the other trees go bare.
Right. And
it don't even have to be the same species female tree.
Yeah.
It's a major female tree, used to be in every so many feet of each other. And when they start cutting them down, everything in that area, if it wasn't taken over by the other one, they was kept wiping out large plots of land.
Let's get to this next question, Rod. Where is this at? This is a super chat. Shine the artists look like me, Watusi. Could there be a connection to Rod? I don't understand that question. I have no idea. Do you understand that question, Rod?
They're saying that Shine from Belize, that was the bad boy artist. That's what they talk about.
Shine, yeah. But
yeah, they saying that they look like Shine and that he looked Watusi to them.
I don't think Shine looked Watusi, no.
Me either. But people's perception is how they, that's their own. So I can't say to them they don't look like that, because that's probably the way that the Watusi person that they seen might have looked like Shane.
So let's get to this next question. What's the connection between the Ant people and the Ant-Man series produced by Marvel Studios, being Ant-Man, Ant-Man 2, and Ant-Man and the Wasp?
All that's is exploiting your natural. So this is how they exploit our genetic memory. Well, we have these stories as part of our lore, and then they turn them into animated entertainment with children in mind, and then they can make movies out of them later on as the children become adults, exploiting your genetic memory of people that was here. So they just telling you, they just controlling how you perceive your history, as in the telling you how it connects. Just one thing when you watch those, you got to always remember the superpower is always exaggerated in the entertainment in order to give it more prominent appeal. Turn it down about 1,000 notches and say, what do that look like? And then you might find yours. Right. But that's just an exaggeration of it. All of those are exaggerations.
Somebody wants to know, do you think we are going to have a blackout?
Sorry. Well, the blackouts, it can last. Blackout could be the internet going out, or like today they had a Verizon blackout when the phones jacked up for a certain. Those are considered blackouts. The blackout doesn't have to be one continuous thing. It could be a series of things that's causing and interrupting the old patterns of the old ways as they instituting the patterns of the new ways. You turn the lights off, turn the light back on, check to see if they work after you change the bulb. So that's they do check it. Light switch. The powers that be, the ones in charge, the ones that's running shit from behind shadows, they use and exploit that because they operating on the rhythms. So they tell you when to pay attention, and they use the blackouts to communicate to the others on the other side of the world what move to make next. Telecommunications. Watch what's going on. It don't mean what they telling you. They telling you what they telling you, but it don't mean to them the same thing it mean to you. That's the hard part for people to grasp. That's called double speak. It's a politically trained skill that they learn in a lot of times in the universities. But then you still have to learn it as you progress through politics. You have to learn it like a foreigner being submerged in a foreign land, and the only way they can survive is to learn the local language. So they become proficient in the local language. It's the same thing when you you learn to speak that language and the hard way. But you go to university, they teaching you going to school, learning your ABCs type, how to read the language, how to talk the language. So when they get out there, they so good at telling the story, you're going to believe everything they say until they don't do nothing they said they was going to do. And then when you find out they did everything they said they was going to do, but they didn't do none of the shit they told you they was going to do for you. But everybody else, they did it for. Right.
Let's want to get to this next question. Hi, did the ones that look like us but are not come from another planet? What are they so interested on harming the melanated people of Earth?
It was a power struggle between two foreign agencies. One of them is favorable to us and another one is hostile. And this is why they gave you a God and a devil concept so that you could choose sides. The bad guy is always the person not working in your interest. But you take sides with the oppressed because you realize you oppressed even when you think you're living in the upper middle class and that you're under somebody else's control that you don't want to be under. So when you see them freedom fighters in the movie and you rooting for them, all that, okay. But you ain't finna go out there and do none of the work they gonna do. Right? And then as times change, they give us heroes of the past in order to substitute the ones rising up in the presence in order to keep them overshadowed so you can't never get to somebody that could do something about the problem.
Yeah. They love propping up the dead, man. They love propping up the dead. They love a dead hero. Love it.
But I go back to our culture, though. It's an old proverb that say, you die 2 times. Your body die, that's your first death.
Mm-hmm.
Your final death is when your name is spoken for the last time.
Mm-hmm. Mm. All right. How do different cosmic light rays play into reincarnation and identification of self?
Um, the reincarnation is based on the programming of the DNA. You got walk-ins. That's not true reincarnation. That's what you call soul jumping. With a person surrender their life, they can transfer from a person that accidentally lost their life, can take that person's life contract over. And that's why a lot of people be so different after a major trauma event in their life. And you hear people like, yeah, man, he ain't nothing like he used to be. Once that happened to him, he ain't been, because it's a whole different person in that body now. So the cosmic light is the light that reflects on the DNA that generates your personality traits, by how it interacts with the world around you. The cosmic light is the inner light. It's shining in through off the mitochondria the same way they use the solar panels to catch light. So the cosmic light is your inner light coming through the genome. The way that the light is reflected shows your personality. This is where you get your astrology read from, because it's deriving the inner light is matching with the external light by where is the position and the orientation of where the light concentration first emerged, which is telling you where you was born. This is why they want to know, your reader want to know your longitude, latitude, or where you was born.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they know your longitude, latitude, day and time of birth. They can look at the stars and tell you what you are energetically, but it don't mean it's going to be able to be played out realistically, because you might not know how to control that kind of power.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be turned down to minimum until you can control it. As you practice, it's going to overwhelm you while you're trying to get control. So once you get control of the faculty, you can use it better because you understand it now.
Rod, they want to know, we're gonna do a couple more, about 3 more, then we're gonna get out of here. Does other people's perception affect our aura and how we could use this to our advantage?
It can, but that's based on how your aura is programmed. You can program your aura with low self-esteem and it'll absorb others people's perception to amplify that low self-esteem field. So it'd be like it's getting its own gas for low self-esteem through other people's perception as they tear down your self-esteem. That's how it works. That negative, you using somebody else's perception. Even if your ego is overinflated and you got this delusions of grandeur, as they say, that's your ego being overly fed by people ass kissing you all the time and they didn't mean it.
All right. Let's see. Give me 1 second, family. I'm trying to. Somebody wants to know, would you come back after this life or do you want to move on, Rod?
I always tell people in all my past lives, I ain't coming back to do this shit no more. But here I am again. I'm not finna go through that no more. I have to first be real with myself. I'm gonna come back as many times as it takes because it's based on the love story.
Damn, that's deep. Oh, now that's poetic. You know shit. Rod, God, you heard him? He said, I'm gonna come back as many times as it takes because it's all based on a love story. Damn, brother. Damn, that was some of the deepest shit I heard in a while, man. Wow. That's love, man.
Yeah.
Shit. Damn, brother.
That's why no weapon formed against me shall prosper. because I walk in that spirit.
That was deep. I like that one, man. Wow. Let's see. Hmm. All right. What are the connections to the L's and Bays to the American Indian?
Okay. Remember earlier, I said, remember Turkey with the Ottomans?
Mm-hmm.
The L's, Bays, and Days. The L's were a Middle Eastern priesthood, right? It was the ancient order of the Elohim. The Days, Bays, and Alis was the ranking system of the Ottoman Empire. You needed a certain amount of days to put a bey in a province. Otherwise, the province is spread out according to how many days under the local bey. The bey is like a general in the military. Report back to the L, who then gives back the instructions. Right? That was the ranking system in the Ottoman Empire. Before the Scottish Rite Freemasons incursion from Europe, Spain as exiles, they didn't have no sway over here. It had nothing to do with us. But once Columbus pulled up on the block and set this shit off, now we've been dealing with them in the game of chess over lifetimes until we figure it out. So all of the Moors, can't none of them tell you where. They can't tell you where the flag of the Bays at. They don't even know what you're talking about. Because you got to have a flag of the Bays over your embassy to establish your government right of jurisdiction. That's under Ottoman law. But we don't know no Ottoman law over here. I'm the only idiot that'll go study the Ottoman Empire and try to figure out the structure of their legal system. And then be mad that I did because it got something to do now with us that didn't have nothing to do with us before 1492.
Yeah. All right. Last one, Rod. What is the real concept of the Matrix, Rod? Come on, bring us home, Rod, with this one, man.
It's Fortnite.
Fortnite.
You put on some goggles somewhere else.
Yeah.
You logged on to the program and came in at the university Earth exit because you wanted to experience the realm of infinite probability, infinite possibility. Mm-hmm. And you wanted to see what it was like to live in imbalance and balance and trying to find balance in the realm of opposites. You wanted to swing like a pendulum from pillar to post until you can find your center and straighten yourself out. This was called the vicissitudes of life. As you went through your ups and downs, you was reliving all of your past lives simultaneously while you live in your current lives because everything is now. So the concept of the matrix is the convergence point when you pull off the goggles and say, I felt while I was there. I understand now what I couldn't understand before. It's a crash course learning program. That's why you only get to live 120 years for this segment, because it's trying to see what you learned in all your past lifetimes put to the test in one lifetime. Where's your survival instinct? How far have you developed over multiple lifetimes? Have you evolved or are you stagnant? So you come into the matrix to test yourself before you go on to become your own star of your own universe. This is just a training program. It's the University Earth.
So Apple Vision Pro, huh?
Yep. Fortnite.
Fortnite. Damn,
Look,
man.
epigenetics. If you study epigenetics, you realize that you're not really here. Your consciousness is being projected into your cells membranes. Those are many brains. A brain is a receiver,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if your membranes ain't working, you can't receive the energy that's coming in order to convert it into the you.
Mm.
Your consciousness comes in a wave. You just download it. Your mitochondria is powering your computer database. And you can only get it from your mama. That means that you need her permission to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you looking at the matrix, you just looking at a crash course learning program on how a God would be taught how to balance the energies in the realm of opposites so that they can come out and be this. His own Makaba, his own star, his own inner light is like his outer world.
Mm-hmm. Rod, let me show you this before we wrap it up. What a show, what a show, what a show. I seen Blue Pill. Shout out to Blue Pill. He shared this on Instagram the other day. I know you talk because you talk about the mitochondria and things like that. And I never heard this about the placenta. I want to get your thoughts on it. It says the surprising fact the placenta is genetically linked to the father. While it grows inside the mother, the placenta is biologically and genetically more an extension of the father than the mother. This is due to a fascinating genetic phenomenon called genomic imprinting, where certain genes are turned on or off depending on which parent they are inherited from. The genes responsible for building the placenta, specifically the structures that aggressively burrow into the uterine wall to tap into the mother's blood supply, are primarily expressed from the father's DNA. From an evolutionary standpoint, the father's genes are programmed to create a robust placenta to ensure the fetus gets as much nutrition as possible from the mother's body. The placenta develops the trophoblast cells of the fertilized eggs, which carry a full set of the father's chromosomes. This temporary organ acts as a sophisticated biological interface, filtering oxygen and nutrients through the chorionic villi while keeping the mother's and baby's blood separate, essentially acting as a paternal envoy that manages the baby's survival and growth for 9 months. Goddamn, we protect and we protectors in this realm, and I guess we protectors inside the stomach as well. God damn it! What's your thoughts?
You gotta remember the womb think the sperm is a parasite.
Yeah.
Right. So how do parasites survive? This would be symbiosis. That's all it is. But at the end of the day, the placenta is just opening up pathways for the mother to feed the child through the uterus. So what's taking place is what's the binding of mother and father in the production of the offspring. But if this was a parthogenic birth, right, the story would be different. Because the mother already has the placenta equipment there as uteral lining, cyclic uteral lining. Right. So the mother's still determining how do the mother know when to turn on the chemistry to turn the boy child into a male? Because they all start off female. She have to find the qualities that she's imprinting on the child in that particular Y chromosome. Let's say that the person don't got strong enough legs for what the mother is seeing in her child. But the dude she slept with 6 months ago did. She gonna go into her brain, get that piece of genetic material and alter the baby. And that's why some of these chicks can't find their baby daddy, because they didn't piece together a whole baby daddy from 100 different people. She ain't gonna never find a baby daddy because all of them was the baby daddy.
That's some wild shit there.
Look, the baby got the mother's blood type up until it changes over at about 8 or 9 months old.
Mm-hmm.
It'll switch over to the father's, but it don't always switch.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when it has an opportunity to switch to becoming the father's child. And sometimes that'll throw your DNA markers off because the biochemistry altered the genome.
Yeah, indeed. Oh man, this was a good show, huh, y'all? This was a good show. Yo, so Rod, you know how they say as above, so below, as within, so without. So
Law of opposites.
huh?
It's a law of opposites.
Yeah. So if do you think this bond between the father and child would it be stronger, or does it get stronger if the mother stops listening to the hospital and keeps the placenta? And I know they make it in pill form. Does that make the bond between the father, the mother, does that make the bond stronger between everybody?
No, well, the placenta is not the bonding chemical. It's a stem cell factory.
Mm-hmm.
It's just producing potential. The
Right.
person whose stem cell it is, they can use the stem cell from it to do biological repairs and to help reprogram the genome.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's different stuff different tribes did with the placenta.
Right.
Some of them kept a catalog to treat the ailments of everything from old age, because they used to be able to use parts of your own birth template, placenta, mixed with certain herbs, and it was like you don't age. It's like a youth hormone, right? Then you have other tribes that bury it. But then the local foods that grow up is reading the placenta's markers and is knowing what nutrients provides best for this.
Steep.
And then it'll start to grow the vegetables denser in that nutrient, and it might even produce a whole new strain of vegetable, hybridizing with a flower or something, in order to be able to meet the nutritional needs of that human organ in the ground, or the fecal matter for that much.
Yeah, I've heard about Yeah.
It's the earth learning your genome and how to produce for you what you can be most optimum. So that's what the homeopathy is. Homeopathy is different from modern medicine because it's not had nothing to do with giving you a pill. It was about putting your body in homeostasis. It's the state of balance. From that state of balance, all of your health, you don't hardly have as many health issues. This is why our grandmama and them used to be smoking cigarettes and eating pork till they was 108.
Yeah, I'm telling you, right?
Right. They started smoking at 5 years old. They ain't never had a cancer, a cough, or nothing related to no smoking until these people started spraying the tobacco. Right? So we knew how to harmonize and synchronize with the earth, using what we naturally do in order to influence what we produce on the fat of the land. Right? All of our cultures, inner city and country cultures, is based around the structures that was established at what we call Big Mama House.
Right.
Where it was an old lady that had raised so many generations of kids, and they keep coming back every cycle. What they call them holidays now, but they own specific dates because it's exploiting our genetic memory. When they call it pagan, that means it comes from Pangea, right? When they call it heathen, that means it came from the wilderness. And the connotation is that it's some kind of way inherently wicked or evil, when nothing can be further from the truth. Voodoo and hoodoo is to teach you how to harmonize with the energies of the earth. And when people don't want to harmonize with the energies of the earth, you can use the harmony to disrupt their balance. They call it casting spells. This is why if you see a real person that do conjure work for somebody, they do all kind of spells because they got to keep the shit in balance. So you can pay them to do whatever, and if they look and they see that there's an imbalance and that need to be done, they'll execute that spell for you. But they can't do it until it's asked to them. So I mean, they can't just up and do it on their own. It has to be a request.
Right.
As a priest. You might know all of the answers, but you can't answer them until you get a question. That's that. That's the priests.
Yeah.
They go back to the oracles because they was exploiting the oracles. You know, the oracles was the ones that would read the fabric and they could correct errors in the universe on the spot. It was like Wolverine's automatic healing program. They had to cut the women off of that link. I just made a post when you was calling me. I was writing the last few words of the post. It was a sister. She was explaining, and I was writing a post about what she was explaining. About how this is called the Magdalene frequency.
Magdalene, wow. Frequency, wow.
Yeah. But it's actually it's also called the Delphi frequency too, and the Sybil frequency. It's the hive mind people being called to clean up the hive in the mental space. They learn how to see certain codes in order to see where the error at. And they don't know what they're looking at now because they've been trained to think that they crazy if they see it. And take this pill to try to fix it. Right. So but the ones that just waking up now, they are seeing it and they putting it into use to determine what it means, and it's like amazing to them. But they've been doing it the whole time.
Yeah, what a show, man. Rod, I want to thank you once again for coming on the platform, my brother. This is your first time this year on the platform. We had that big show to close out the year last year, 2025. So first time on the show this year, 2026. Any last messages for the family before we get out of here?
Just keep your eyes open and don't get emotionally involved in what you see on TV.
I'm telling you. I am telling you.
As long as they don't get emotionally involved, we all right.
Indeed. All right, my brother, I appreciate you. And I'm going to be calling you soon because I want to do the another episode of the spiritual therapy on Patreon. So I'm going to be calling you soon. Appreciate it, Rod.
That's going to be being a hit, Brother Rich.
Yeah, yo, I'll be telling the people about it. You better sign up to Patreon. He's on there every month. The people absolutely love it. I love the questions. It's questions that sometimes people would be too embarrassed to ask on YouTube, so they just let it all out on the Patreon. But you got to sign up to my Patreon. Rod Hayes got a monthly thing going right now. It's called Spiritual Therapy, and it's awesome. So yeah, make sure y'all sign up for that. But yo, Rod, I'm gonna talk to you soon, my brother. I appreciate it.
All right, all the time, Brother Rich.
Yes, sir. All right.